The year was 1886, and unsurprisingly, people were bored. Like, really, really bored. So bored, in fact, that thousands and thousands of people regularly paid to watch several tons of steel be violently thrown around in the name of entertainment. Safety precautions had yet to be invented, and there were no rules. Ever. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story about our fellow Mayhem enthusiasts from back in the day.
I think I know where this is going.
Oh, it's a disaster.
I'm so intrigued.
Just wait, it gets worse.
We are just the masters of disasters, aren't we?
Calamity Janes.
Welcome to Calamity Janes, a podcast where two sisters to anything but plain Janes talk about disasters, calamity, mayhem. I am Bailey.
I'm Madison.
And this week, we are going to talk about, what are we talking about this week? What are we telling our best friends about this week, Madison?
We are telling our best friends about the crash at Crush.
Ooh, still as cryptic as the intro made it sound. I gotta be honest, I have no idea what you're about to tell me right now.
Perfect. That's just how I like it. I would bet that most people do not know what this is.
But I will say, when you pose the question, what did people back in, 1880 whatever do?
Yeah.
It got me thinking, what did they do?
I know. Every single time my power goes out, my husband and I have the same conversation about, oh my God, what would we have done? What would we be doing right now?
Well, then you find out real fast because you don't have any power. And you're like, I guess I've been meaning to read. I guess I've been wanting to look at this wall for an awfully long time now. I get to really study it now.
Yeah. I mean, after the derecho, when we didn't have internet for like 4 days, he got to go to work and like help people at the hospital. And I was stuck at home and I was like, well, I guess I'll read like a loser.
Yeah. And then you realize how ill-prepared you are to pick up a book.
Yeah, that is so true. I actually really
like, I don't have books. What are books? What's out these days?
I really love reading until someone makes me read something. Like the internet made me read all those books that I'd been buying over the years because they sounded nice. But yeah. So anyways, that's what I imagine people were just like all the time, just angry reading. Just like
belligerently reading.
Just fury reading everything. Okay. Let's set the scene. The Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad, which is a really stupid name for a railroad, also known as the MKT or the Katy, like as in Perry, Katy.
They just dropped the M? They were like, sorry, Missouri, can't be bothered.
Well, I think that's how anyone who doesn't live in Missouri feels about Missouri.
Ooh, Madison's about to start some beef with Missouri.
As someone who lived in Kansas for 3 years, I can tell you that there are no Missouri fans there.
Well, that's also Kansas City specific beef that has had.
Yeah, even though it is the Missouri side of Kansas City that is far superior to the Kansas side.
Like, you're asking for enemies. I don't understand why you keep like sharing these polarizing hot takes.
I know. I'm in a mood to start something. I'm in a mood. I want to sow the seeds of insurrection.
All of your emails to Madison and not me.
Okay. Anyways, the Katy was originally, I also saw it referred to as KT, like just the letters, but whatever. I'm going to call it Katy, like Katy Perry. Anyways.
I think they sound the same, regardless of
They do,
how
but to me they sound very different. Okay, anyways, shush. The Katy was originally established in 1865 under the name Union Pacific Railway, Southern Branch. As many railroads did at the time, the Katy expanded, and soon the railway replaced their 30-ton steam engines with newer, bigger, and badder 60-ton engines.
Upgrade ya.
With their now obsolete stockpile of older 30-ton steam engines, the Katy began to wonder, whatever will we do with all these trains? Enter Katy agent William Crush.
Ooh, I bet you little Billy has an idea of what to do with those trains.
Oh, does he? Crush had heard about a neat little ditty at Buckeye Park near Lancaster, Ohio, where the Columbus and Hocking Valley Railroad staged a locomotive crash that drew 20,000 spectators.
Wow. And this man's last name is
Crush. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Given the intro and the background that you've given me just right here, right now, something tells me that's a very fortuitous last name.
Truly
At least
is.
ironic.
Mm-hmm. So they staged a train crash. And people...
Theater.
And people, a lot of people, 20,000 people were like, okay, that sounds fun.
I mean, if it's low stakes, you're like, no one's on board. Why not just crash 2 trains together? I guess I would probably pay money to see that too.
And that is exactly why this is a story of our people.
Okay.
It's because
I want to pay you to make a controlled disaster so I can
Exactly.
watch. That does sound like something we would do.
That
okay.
is exactly why I was interested in this. I also want to mention early on that I am doing this because our dad suggested that I do this one. So he pointed this out to me.
Dad knew about this one?
Dad knew. I didn't ask any questions. I'm not sure why, but it was a great suggestion and I'm doing it. So shout out to Dad.
Especially given the era, it's not like, oh, I remember when. No.
No, that is true. He was not there for this. So anyways. Okay. So that railroad company didn't charge admission. They made money from railroad passenger traffic to and from the park for the crash. It was a huge success, and it got Crush thinking. So he went to his superiors and proposed a similar idea, and his superiors were all about it. They put him in charge of the publicity stunt and then presumably went back to twisting their fabulous mustaches and polishing their monocles.
The picture you're painting. So they're all the Monopoly Man? Just all of them.
Yes, they are.
Who doesn't have a monocle, apparently. I guess that's a misremembered fact about the Monopoly Man. Doesn't have a monocle?
I know. Is that called the Mandela effect?
I think so, yeah. A collectively misremembered memory.
Yeah,
Berenstein,
I think so.
Berenstein.
I
yeah.
wish I hadn't. I was just laughing so hard at my own joke. I feel like
You
I
did.
really butchered it.
Did. No. It was pristine. It was wonderful.
I laughed as I wrote it. I laughed as I read it. It's so sad.
No, you
fine.
need to be your biggest fan, Moo.
I am. I'm amazing. I'm so funny.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I had
Good
to
for you,
center
Moo.
myself.
Good
Thank
for
you. Okay. Katie also made their event free, but planned for special excursion trains that would run to and from the planned crash site. The price of these excursions was $2 per round-trip ticket from anywhere in the state. Do you want to guess how much that is today?
$94.
$62.22. But you're
I
not
wasn't
that far off. No,
not at all.
Not so bad. And when you think about it, this is in Texas, so a round-trip ticket from anywhere in the state is kind of a big deal.
For whatever reason, I was thinking they were going to Ohio. Because that's where you'd heard about it.
Yes, that is true.
I see. Well, that is a less impressive trip. However, Texas, as we'll never let you forget, is very big.
It's
so
huge.
I guess $2 for anywhere in-state travel is, well, I guess I would say it's decent, even though, it's $64 today. That's still, can't get a plane ticket across the state for $64.
I'm not sure if the railroad was reaching into the outermost parts of Texas, the truly undesirable areas out in West Texas, but
you are just racking up the enemies. We are so sorry, everyone in El Paso. I'm sure it's wonderful out there.
I'm
Marfa,
sure it is. Okay, cut that part. I will create too many enemies.
Amarillo. I mean, so sorry.
Okay. Anyways, I'm not sure how far the railroad was reaching, if it really did go out to the very outer bits of Texas. But regardless, I don't know. That's a lot of money, and it was definitely a lot of money back then. But I'm still kind of impressed because Texas is really big.
Well, $2 fare between Dallas and Austin is way less impressive than a $2 fare between Dallas and El Paso.
That is very true. Yeah. Okay. They made this a little more of a spectacle than the Ohio folks. They drilled...
Because it's Texas.
Exactly. They just have to. It's in their nature.
It's the law.
They drilled water wells, put up a big tent from the Ringling Brothers, erected a grandstand, 3 speaker stands, a platform for reporters, 2 telegraph offices, and a train depot specially crafted for the occasion with a giant sign that proclaimed the site as Crush, Texas, which is kind of narcissistic if you ask me.
It's hugely narcissistic, but I mean...
If my last name was Crush and I was in the business of destroying trains, then who knows? I might go the same way.
Yeah, totally. But wow, what fanfare. What, showboating.
There were carnival games, lemonade stands, medicine shows, cigar vendors, and various...
Sorry, pause it, back it up. What's a medicine show?
I knew you were going to ask me about that.
I'm so glad, because if you didn't have an answer for me, I was going to stop the show right now and make everyone do a quick Google.
Do you want to guess what a medicine show is before I tell you?
It's really, my guess would be very grim. Fortunately, the lobotomy hadn't been invented by then, but if I had to guess, it would be like a doctor coming around performing like weird medical things on people. Like,
that is not that wrong, actually. Basically, maybe they called him chemists back then, but a pharmacist would get up.
Like a druggist.
A druggist, thank you. That's the word I was thinking of. A druggist would stand on top of what I'm assuming was a very sad platform that in the middle of a small crowd hold up a bottle of arsenic and say, "This is great for your kids. Goes great with this side of cocaine that'll heal their cold." And that's what it was. They would take medicine and just talk about how amazing it was. But medicine back then was basically hard drugs or poison. And then they would encourage you to give it to your children. The good old days. And that is what a medicine show was.
Well, a little disappointed that we still don't have medicine shows today, but I would want to see the merch in action, honestly.
Oh my gosh, I know.
On somebody else, not on me. Like a demo. I want to see somebody else take it to make sure it really is safe and sound.
Yes. Well, I can assure you that nothing they were selling was safe and sound.
Well, I mean, it didn't sound like... Well, yeah, no, the Coke was definitively bad.
The arsenic, maybe the mercury, maybe some of the other things that we were like, "Here, drink this, see what happens."
Yeah. I guess that was still too early yet for the radioactive stuff. It's not like they were saying, "Here, put this in your eyes, you'll glow.
Try this radium. Tastes great.
Try this radium."
Yeah. And we were like, "Drink this arsenic. It'll kill the ghosts in your blood. It'll be great."
Blood ghosts. Oh. Medicine.
How far we've come. A 4-mile segment of track was built just for the occasion to ensure that a runaway train couldn't end up on the main Katy line, which was really good thinking. Thankfully, that is not what we're here to talk about.
God, because I'm assuming these were like conductorless, so you're just setting a conductorless train loose on the track to go literally across the estate.
Exactly. Our locomotives were 2 35 short-ton decommissioned Baldwin engines, number 999 and number 1001. One was painted green with red trim and the other red with green trim. Sounds glamorous.
That's confusing.
Okay, well, don't think about it too much. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to paint you a word picture.
I appreciate that, but it's still confusing because it's like, okay.
They were red and green. They were very pretty. They had been dressed up for the occasion.
Oh, their funeral clothes. Sorry. I don't know why I took it there.
It's so dark.
It's grim, but it's true. Here, we're going to make you look nice and purty for your death.
Each engine would pull 6 boxcars behind it that were chained together to prevent them from going rogue before the crash.
Wait, so it's not just the engines, it's 6
They want to build up momentum and weight behind them.
But the engines are the heaviest thing. I mean, they're massive. They're huge.
But also, this is a spectacle. This is for the show. These boxcars, the more that you have involved, the more, like, destruction there's going to be.
Oh, sure. I know how I get that. It just seemed like,
wasteful?
To me, it would... Wasteful and unnecessary. Just a boxcarless boom seemed like it would be a big enough boom. But then again, and it's never enough. It's never enough.
One day prior to the spectacle, railroad officials performed a speed test to figure out where exactly the trains would collide. which seems like a really, I don't know, rudimentary way of figuring out what exactly was going to happen. This whole thing just seems like really, I don't know. It's okay. We'll find out what happens next. The engineers assured Crush that his little mad scientist venture was completely safe. Most importantly, and you'll want to remember this little tidbit for the future, they told him that there was no way that the boilers would rupture because they had been specifically designed to resist rupture, and that even in a high-speed crash, just like the one they were planning, they would be totally, absolutely, definitely, completely not exploded.
This feels a lot like when they said the Titanic was unsinkable.
That is an excellent comparison to make.
Not to bring it back to the Titanic again. But
yeah. We'll just put every disaster in terms of Titanics.
Titanics, yeah.
Crush, in a stroke of common sense, insisted on restricting the bystanders to a minimum of 200 yards, that's 180 meters, from the track. However, the members of the press were allowed within 100 yards. They had expected about 20,000 to 25,000 people, but they were so good at their marketing their destructive soiree that they sold out more than 30 special excursion trains, those that'll come from anywhere in the state, to the event. So there were actually between 30,000 and 50,000 people there.
About giving the press closer access. This is a time where it's not like the press are taking high-def pictures or videos. I guess
they were taking pictures, but yeah.
But that's where I'm like, oh, the press gets special access. And I'm like, to do what? To write better, different words? What are they going to do from 100 feet closer versus 200, you know?
Basically.
Interesting. Okay. Well, bet you they regretted that.
Oh, did they? The crash was delayed for an hour because spectators resisted being pushed back to a safe distance by the police.
Of course. You can't tell me what to do.
Around 5 p.m., the two engines slowly approached the meeting point for a quick photo op, and they literally came and kissed the trains together. Was that weird?
I thought you were referring that out. No, I'm not cutting that out. No, that's the most adorable picture of trains I've ever heard.
You can see the picture. They're right up there. They give a little smooch to each other before they start the event.
Cue it, little warm up, little handshake.
Yep. So there's a picture of the trains nose to nose, right there. Then they rolled them back to their starting points, each 1 mile from the meeting point.
So they're 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, this is great. Okay, what a show of hubris. Crush, the humble man that he was, rode in on a white stallion and signaled.
Oh my God.
And signaled for the trains to start by dropping a white hat to the ground. Here's the other
Which no one could see.
Exactly. Okay, here's the other thing that I want to mention is that, so we've got our meeting point, which is obviously where everyone is crowded around. And being conservative, we'll say there's 35,000 people there.
Conservatively, oh my God.
I know. It's a small meeting point. Granted, the trains are big and an explosion, or not an explosion, but this wasn't meant to be an explosion. This is just meant to be a crash. Not everyone's going to be able to see that.
Right.
Especially, and 200 yards isn't that far away, but that's you're still a decent, I don't know. It's just he named the crash site after himself. He rode in on a white stallion. Why? I don't.
And in reality, when you think about what this was supposed to be, they build stadiums up to house this many people, and even then you still have high-def Megatrons that are 20 by 20 TVs big, and people are built up in stands. And so I can just imagine all these people walking into a field being like, okay, what do we do now? And it's kind of maybe I should have just stayed home and read a book. I don't know. Am I going to be able to see anything?
I would way rather be angry reading my book tonight by that tiny little wax candle my grandma made me yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay. So, at the drop of his hat, the train started down the track, and after exactly 4 turns of the drive wheels, the engineers and crew aboard jumped off. Because someone had to start the trains.
How fast?
I don't think they were going very fast. I think they were going pretty slow at that point. That's not where the disaster was. not then.
I guess I'm a little surprised. Sometimes it's just one thing right after another. But that's good.
That
is
true.
good. That's not where the fatalities occurred.
Okay. Here's an excerpt from the September 16th issue of the Dallas Morning News that describes what happened next. Bailey, would you like to read this in your best 19th century newsy voice?
Sure.
If I send this to you in a text?
Sure.
Okay.
This is so long. Okay.
I know. You don't have to do...
Oh, I'm committing.
Okay. All right. Bailey is a professional voice actor, so...
Okay, why would you... No. This is not the time to tell people that, because you have now told me I need to sound like an 1880s Southwest Texas old man.
Yeah, basically.
But I'm going to go for it. This is not an audition. I'm not claiming to be an expert in this. We're just going to see what happens. Okay.
All right.
The rumble of two trains, faint and far off at first, but growing nearer and more distant with each fleeting second, was like the gathering force of a cyclone. Nearer and nearer they came, the whistles of each blowing repeatedly, and the torpedoes which had been placed on the track exploding in almost a continuous round, like a rattle of musketry. Musketry, that's an interesting... Okay. They rolled down at a frightful rate of speed to within a quarter of a mile of each other, nearer and nearer as they approached a fatal meeting. And then your text cut off.
I'll send you the last sentence if you can edit, because you're doing a great job. I am truly exceeded any expectations I had.
Okay, we're going to take that last sentence again because Madison's full text didn't come through on the chat. Nearer and nearer as they approached the fatal meeting place, the rumbling increased and the roaring grew louder. Thank you so much.
That was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so impressed. It's like I was there.
That is exactly what I try and do. I try and transport my listeners to wherever, take them with me on my journey.
Oh.
You can hire me anytime you want.
Okay, this is not your advertising time.
Plug.
I would love for you to get a job
Work
from that.
Work from this.
That would make me so happy. Okay. Each train reached 45 miles per hour, or 72 kilometers per hour, and met just where they were supposed to. And everything was awesome and safe.
For the big kiss.
Yes, for the big kiss.
The big kiss.
And everything was awesome and safe and violent. The end. Just kidding.
Wait.
No.
What?
Everything was awful. Remember those boilers that were totally rupture-proof and definitely not going to explode?
They definitely didn't explode, right?
They definitely did not explode. Okay, do you want to guess what happened next? Because...
Well, I'm going to go with they exploded.
Yeah. Okay.
Contrary to everyone's belief, they exploded.
I actually have another excerpt from the Dallas Morning News, but I won't make you read it if you don't want to.
Please don't. I don't think anybody else wants that.
No, it's fine. Okay. So I'll let the talented writers of the Dallas Morning News take this one too. A crash, a sound of timbers rent and torn, and then a shower of splinters. There was just a swift instance of silence, and then, as if controlled by a single impulse, both boilers exploded simultaneously, and the air was filled with flying missiles of iron and steel, varying in size from a postage stamp to half of a driving wheel. Yeah.
Of heavy metal.
Of heavy, hot metal.
Molten metal.
Okay, not molten, but hot.
I mean, it's hot. It's pretty hot.
It is
okay,
pretty
so
hot.
it's not liquid, I get it.
It's not,
okay,
yes.
Fine.
Debris was thrown absolutely everywhere. There was panic, there was running, there was hot metal being rocketed into the crowd of our fellow mayhem-loving people. Unfortunately...
People all the way in the back heard it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and although kind of miraculously, only 2 people were killed and 6 were seriously injured. I really expected the numbers on this one to be worse. Obviously, I'm very happy they weren't worse, but I was very surprised. This includes a photographer, Jarvis Joe Dean of Waco, who lost an eye to a flying bolt.
But he did not die. He just lost the eye.
Just lost the
which
eye.
Sucks, but...
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of the press, because they were closer, that were injured.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just sounded like everywhere was a splash zone. There was no, no seat left dry.
Yeah, the trains and their boxcars were reduced to a pile of rubble, except the last 2 boxcars on each side were left totally untouched.
I was going to say, I thought you said they released the boxcars.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they were chained to the engine so they wouldn't release.
That makes sense because I did have a question about, wow, they really designed something to like release and like let the... Okay, this makes more sense. They just sent it all to burn it to the ground. Gotcha.
Yeah. And there's a picture of the moment that the trains met and exploded. It's cool, but like an 1886 camera obviously is not the best thing to capture this. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, what am I looking up?
Crash at Crush.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can see a picture, which, I mean, let's give it up for the photographer who was able to capture that in literally a split second.
There are actually a couple of cool pictures. So there's one of the explosion, but what I think might even be a cooler one is this isn't the kiss because it looks like it's in high speed, like their cars are blurred, but you can see these smoke trails, and it looks like literally the moment right before they come together.
Yeah.
That is
some really impressive photography.
It's not the kiss picture because I'm looking at the kiss picture right now. Oh, it's so cute. They have no idea what's about to hit them, literally.
I know.
But wow, good on those photographers, and I hope they made it out okay.
Me
except for
too.
the one that
Unfortunately
lost an eye, but not his life, so that's good.
Yeah. Despite the unplanned chaos and destruction of the event, people scrambled to the crash not to help, but to collect souvenirs.
Why? Oh my! Why? I will never understand this. The other time, that I can think of where it's like was the was it the axe murder house also in Texas? Villis?
The one where
was that Kansas.
Someone took a raisin from the cake. Is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe, but it's because like there was nothing else left in the house.
Oh yeah.
It's like a phenomenon of that time where instead of there couldn't be any forensic investigation because there was nothing left. People took souvenirs from crime scenes and catastrophe scenes. Interesting.
They grabbed anything that they could carry, even sometimes burning themselves on pieces of metal that were still hot from the explosion.
I mean, let that be a lesson.
Unsurprisingly, this story was front page news. Crush was obviously fired from the Katy. However, people somehow weren't upset about this at all, so he was rehired the next day. He was rehired the next day because there was no negative publicity, and that means there are no consequences for your actions. Woo!
What?
Yep, he kept working for the Katy for another 60 years.
Okay, did he do this again?
No, he did not do this again. I think he lived out a very quiet existence after this.
That's good.
Predictably, there were lawsuits, and the Katy was quick to settle them, all with cash and lifetime railroad passes, because there's no one else people would rather entrust their safe travels with than the company that planned a catastrophically destructive and dangerous event for fun.
Yeah, promise not to blow you up on purpose when you're on our trains.
Yeah. Despite the tragedy of it all, business was a-boomin' for the Katy after this. Many more railroads staged locomotive collisions just like this until trains became less cool.
Sorry, this started a trend of
train crashes?
The
Buckeye one kind of started a trend. And then this...
But the first commercial, like, do it up big, let's make it a family affair kind of situation.
Well, because as far as everyone else knew, they were like, oh, look at how great this was for them. Oh, 2 people died?
Only 2 people?
Yeah, exactly. And, it's awful. So you could say we learned exactly nothing from this. There's now a historical marker a few miles from the site in the town of West, Texas, that you can visit today.
Really? But it's not called Crash?
No.
Crush?
The town of West is closest to where the site is. I think the Crush, like the depot sign, is actually still there. I think you can go see that. I thought I read that somewhere.
City of West, yeah. It just says Crash at Crush. City of West.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that is the story of the Crash at Crush. Something a little lighter for us this week.
I think for as poor of an example as this man was in terms of safety, Hubris. I'm gonna name my baby boy Crush. First name Crush.
I think you
last
should.
name Danger. Or something like. Every time you were calling him by his last name, it sounded like it was a first name, and I was like, he's gonna be destined for like monster truck rallies or the WWE, and okay.
Isn't that the name of the turtle from Finding Nemo?
Crush. Oh, maybe. I don't know why I need to just say it like that to turtle from Finding Nemo. Crush. Yeah. Good memory, Moo.
Thank you.
So he could turn out to be super chill, I guess, because you're like crushing waves. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, what a legacy.
Yeah. Did he have children? Like, who? I hope someone carried on the name. I'm sorry, I'm still so caught up on his name, but it couldn't have been a better match for this situation.
Truly, yeah. I could never, as I was researching it before I got to his role in all of this, I was like, or is it calling it the Crash at Crush? That's so weird. Is that just like a really bad 19th century attempt at a pun in the media? Yeah.
They had nothing to do and they weren't funny. That's not fair.
But no, there you go. That's the story. That's what happened.
Wow. Thanks, Moo. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
What a nice disaster. Uplifting. I mean, obviously, 2 lives lost. That's nothing to take lightly. But what a bizarre disaster.
I know. It's a little easier to swallow than some of the other ones.
It is, and it's also one of those, like, face palms where, unlike, an avalanche or, just these kind of slow burn, long time coming disasters, this is like someone woke up and consciously made bad choice after
woke up and chose chaos.
Chose chaos that day.
Woke up and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to destroy something.
I'm going to destroy some stuff. And that's what they did. And then people were like, good job. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
And again.
Yep.
There was the original stunt marketing.
Yeah. And not once in my research did I run into any instance of any law enforcement being like, really wish you hadn't done that. Yeah.
No authority, just chiming in and being like,
single
maybe
person.
we cool it on that.
Maybe it did happen. Maybe the police or sheriff or cowboys in West were like, hey, partner.
Not around here, partner.
As far as I know, that did not happen. There were literally no consequences for this. He was fired, and then as soon as his boss was like, oh, people aren't mad at us, you can come back, and then he was rehired.
This is a little, I mean, it's not even a little. It's very much like stunt marketing today, right? Like, people get upset about that kind of stuff too, but it's like, how far can we push that envelope though? Like, how mad are you really? Yeah. We haven't learned.
No. And will we ever?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. This has been a fun one.
That we know of.
I had a good time.
It was a really fun one, Moo. Way to bring some new and different energy to this week's episode. I hope everybody else out there enjoyed it as much as we did. I did, certainly.
I thought my jokes were hilarious, so I had a great time.
I also thought your jokes were perfectly adequate.
It's always, I can never be truly funny because I laugh at my own jokes as I make them in my head before I even say them. And I kill the punchline because my delivery is so horrible.
No, I think that's part of it. There's a reason why, like, they're funny. There are, like, compilations of SNL actors breaking in their skits because when you know something's so funny, it's coming. That in and of itself, comedy gold.
Good point. That's a very good point. You always know how to bring me back up.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Done.
Oh, this was a good time. Thank you, best friends, for
so good.
For going on
thank you,
this
best friends,
trip with us.
For your support, for listening to this and every other episode we have up, which, if you're new to the podcast, we have quite a few episodes if you want to go check them out. Not all of them are as lighthearted as this one, but you go on an emotional adventure with us. So please do. Please subscribe.
Rate.
Review. Tell your friends.
Tell your hamster. Tell...
That won't do us much good, but yes, please. Maybe somebody will overhear your conversation with your hamster, and after telling you need to seek help, they'll listen too.
Just tell someone. Bring them into our best friend circle, and we'll all talk about horrifying disasters together, and it'll be great.
Or just, lighthearted calamities such as this one.
That too. That's fine.
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening with us. Or no, listening to us. Okay, I'm going to start again. Go ahead.
That's it.
That's it. Do you want to give us a newsy send-off?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, thanks for listening another week. We had a great time, and we will see you next week.
Same time next week, y'all. Bye.
Bye.